minutes. Yes. Just getting my Zoom started for the presentation. Okay, great. All right, welcome everyone to the September 9th, 2024 Town of Lewisboro Town Board meeting. For those in the room, the exits are towards the front of the building and the rear of the building. If you will, please join me in pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll start with public comment number one. Anyone here would like to say something? Name, Hamlet, and 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Thank you. My name is Robert Whitaker. My name is Robert Whitaker from Goldens Bridge. The town board is making decisions that involve the town's continued use of fossil fuels for energy, and my comment concerns that issue. After the last ice age from 8,000 BC to the start of the Industrial Revolution around 1850, almost 10,000 years, nature increased the amount of carbon dioxide in the air from 260 to 280, just 20 parts per million over 10,000 years, and that is typical for nature. We are now increasing 20 parts per million every 8 years. So what takes nature 10,000 years, we are now doing in 8. Humans have increased the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by over 50%, with a much greater increase of methane, and most of that increase occurred over the last 30 years. While nature does cause climate change, the critical difference now is the speed of change. In the process of ending the last ice age, nature took 10,000 years to warm 6 degrees Celsius, 11 degrees Fahrenheit. And NASA says that is consistent with natural warming events over at least the last 3 million years. We are now currently warming the planet about 30 times faster than nature. We walk about 3 miles an hour, so it's the difference between walking and racing the car 90 miles an hour down the highway. And life, animals and plants can't possibly evolve and adapt that fast. They're wired for change at 3 miles an hour, not 90. And if they don't survive, what happens to humans who so completely depend on them for our own survival? If we don't stop using fossil fuels now, biologists say that by the end of this century, almost half of all animal species will become extinct or on the brink of extinction. We're not talking thousands of years from now, we're talking decades. And during those same decades, scientists project that land that now supports literally billions of people will become desert. And a third of Earth's entire population will be homeless refugees by 2070. Of course, nature has caused climate change, but almost always that change occurred slowly enough for most life on Earth to adapt. During those rare times in Earth's history when natural increases of carbon dioxide or methane occurred relatively quickly, the resulting warming caused massive extinctions of life. Scientists are telling us that humans are now emitting more carbon dioxide and methane faster than the most destructive climate changes in the past, and the 6th mass extinction of life on Earth has already begun. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Anyone else here would like to speak? How about on Zoom, Janet?
Yes.
Thank you.
Barbara Mangione, I'm asking you to unmute.
How is that?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Hi, it's Barbara Mangione from Goldens Bridge. I just have two comments to make. The first regarding old business, where you're going to have discussion about the battery energy storage systems. I don't know what that discussion is going to entail, but I am once again asking that until our local laws and zoning regulations address the different needs of these systems, that the board does either tonight maybe set a public hearing for a moratorium. As I mentioned, Carmel, Mayapack, Kent, Bedford, and Mount Kisco have all put into effect 6-month moratoriums, with Mount Kisco also adding on to that the ability for them to lengthen the moratorium to 1 year. I think that's the most you can do with the moratorium is 1 year. So I'm asking that this be part of the discussion. The second is a new item that's under new business, which is a resolution to approve a contract of sale for 130 Lake Kitchewan Drive. I had no idea what this was about, so I kind of looked into it. I'm sure many of you who are on the board remember back in 2021, there was an issue with land being sold that hadn't been listed, Town of Lewisboro property. And after that, I know Rich had pushed for having a listing of those properties on our website, which it took almost a year to get that on there. If you go to the website now, it looks like the last listing was from 2022. And this particular property is a sellable property. It's estimated anywhere between $280,000 to $500,000, depending upon which realty site you go on. So I'm wondering why this piece of property was not listed on the town's website, since it does seem to have some nice value to it. I know where it is and how it's being sold without anybody knowing about it again. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm asking Kathy Deutsch to unmute. You're unmuted, Kathy. Can you hear us? I'll come back to you. Simone O'Connor, I'm asking you to unmute.
Good evening. I wanted to bring up a few things, but I'm going to start with the end. I don't understand what the point of that commentary is about climate change and fossil fuels every few weeks. We're in Lewisboro. What exactly are we doing in our town to cause this big speech every few weeks? Nature does cause climate change. I know it's an important thing, but I just don't get the continuous redundant speech about it. Second, Dan, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to attack you like you've attacked everyone else, but you actually called your colleagues racist on your profile page on Facebook. I personally find it offensive, especially since the people that support you are constantly telling us to be kind and you're aggressive and you're mean and you're this and you're that. So saying something horrible to your colleagues, no matter how you say it, is wrong. And I really don't see how you could be a cohesive board while doing that publicly. I find it offensive. I also just heard Barbara speak about this 130 Lake Kitchewan, and it seems like it was only on the market for days. And it almost seems like this was a done deal and it had to be put out there legally for some reason for X amount of days, and all of a sudden there's a contract of sale. So I'd like to hear more about that when we get to new business. That's what I wanted to say for now. I'll see you in new business. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom. The Zoom user, can you please state your name and your hamlet?
Hi, it's Letitia Stapleton from Golden's Bridge. I just have to give a shout out to the Virgos. Happy belated birthday, Tony. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. And to all, I'm glad we're back. Thank you.
Thank you, Letitia. Mickey Denicola, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm Mickey Danicola, Golden's Bridge. I would like to just reiterate what Barbara and Simone said. I'm on all these websites that send me updates about what's available, and I didn't know anything about this house either till I looked it up and thought, gee, that's something I would be interested in. So I'm also on the same page as they are. And I am also a Virgo, an August Virgo, so thank you, Letitia. And that's it. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, Mickey. And Kathy, I'm not seeing you back on here. So that's it.
That's it? Okay. Next, communications. I have one piece of communication that came in from the DOT. Just this from New York State DOT. So as you probably all are aware, they've paved the majority. So the majority of the project has been completed. The only section is over by the Meadows and Cross River, the over by the townhomes over where that S curve is. And that road needs to be needs more work. So they had to go back to or DOT engineering had to redesign the roadway before they can pave it. And so they have to do some additional work before they can pave it. And the information I received this was an update dated Tuesday, September 3rd, is that Morano, the construction company, is scheduled to perform prep work this week, meaning last week, and the following week, the week we are in, with the paving to begin the week of 9/15/2004. The anticipated duration of paving work is 2 weeks.
24.
I'm sorry?
2024, 9/15/2024, right?
Correct.
I thought it was for-
Yeah. The anticipated duration of paving work is 2 weeks. And it'll then be followed by cutting the center line rumble strips. These are the rumble strips that when, cars go towards the middle and they will go over the center line, they start vibrating. And the final striping work will follow the paving. All work should be completed by middle of October, weather depending. So I just wanted to give everyone that update because I have been getting requests about what happened with that section. Because DOT stopped before it and then they continue paving after it. So this is the reason why. And there's a drainage work as well that needs to be done in that area to mitigate some of the stormwater runoff that's going towards the condos. So this will hopefully be done by October timeframe. And we should be completed with that project.
Tony, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I think other people have raised it as well.
Mhm.
In the notices that were published on the town website, I think people had indicated that originally it said that they were going to pave up to Fountain. I know that's not the case. It was just past the entrance to the town park. But there's been quite a bit of inquiry as to why it is that they didn't pave all the way to Fountain as it was published.
Yeah, it depends where you look at where it's published. They said they were going to start paving west of 22 and ended just east of Fountain. I did pose that question to them when we first met as to why they didn't go all the way up to Fountain. They didn't give me an answer. The people that we met with, their instructions was to pave to where they finished paving, which is by the town park. I get the feeling that it was because of budget, because I know that the information I got just before when they got the bids back, is that the bids were higher than they thought, than they had budgeted. So they probably cut back some. Plus, they had this additional work at the Meadows, which they didn't anticipate originally. And the drainage ended up being more work than they also anticipated.
But
So-
that's your feeling. It's not anything.
No, it's not anything that they just said and they said that once they looked at it again, it didn't need paving.
Yeah, I would say that section is in pretty good shape.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I followed up again with the engineer, which is a third-party contractor, to get his opinion on it.
Yeah,
And yeah,
But that's what the public announcements were by state representatives.
Yeah,
6.9
and-
miles going.
and I went to our
past.
state representatives and they didn't have an answer for me.
Somebody should know.
But
Kathy's back on. Did you want?
yeah, if she wants to. Yeah, that's fine. Only Kathy though, because she tried to,
Yes.
yeah.
Kathy, we're trying again. Can you unmute, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I apologize. I've been having computer problems. Thank you for the courtesy. I would just like to comment again regarding Dan and his Facebook postings. I would just like to state that one of his most recent posts has garnered 223 comments, of which none of them are his. He throws posts up and then walks away and allows his surrogate, Jennifer Scarlett, to completely be a dog with red meat, attacking residents consistently. 90% of the posts on his page are from her commenting towards residents. I was recently called by her, and I have been very passive on the page and not instigating any sort of altercations. I was called a genocidal Nazi murderer. Can you hear that? That is insane. And the fact that somebody is allowed to write that on a sitting councilman's page and get no reprimand, no censorship, no editing, no removal is beyond any code of conduct or morality that I could even comprehend. So as we move forward, hopefully, and Tony, when he called the board engaging in racist behavior, that included you too. So that is personally a horror to the esteemed board members. And that is why Andrea is sitting in your seat tonight, because your board is now fractured because of this one council person treating constituents and board members in this manner. And I will say, I am not a genocidal Nazi murderer, nor should I be called that ever. And anybody who has language like that on Facebook should be blocked. And Dan should have at least a fraction of decency to remove that person so that this behavior stops. I'm done. I'm sick of this, but I had to say this because I have never been called something so filthy in my entire life.
All right,
Thank you.
That's it.
All right, I guess I should
Okay.
take something of a, personal privilege here and respond.
Well,
No,
there's not
No.
now,
No?
no,
the appropriate
I've been
time.
called out twice in the course of these comments here, personally.
Let's wait till polling.
Well, nobody's gonna hear it then.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the board with it.
no.
Not sure it works that way.
Yeah, let's wait till polling.
Well, if you have a motion to suspend the rules on that, then make the motion.
Is that a rule when I get called out personally? That
I'm okay with
Not
you
sure.
making a statement because the meeting's gonna go for a while, and if you, yeah, I'm okay with it. So
First of all, there's no rule that says there has to be a polling the board. And personally, I don't think Dan should be afforded an opportunity in polling the board ever again. That said, I'm willing to give up polling the board myself for the entire board because personally, I think it's a waste of time and it gives whatever. But, the board as a whole has not done anything, nor have we found a way that we can in any way address some of these things that have been taking up time for almost a year. So we have polling the board, we have polling board at the end. I don't see any reason to divert from that. And if you allow Dan to have his moment of polling the board at then he can address at the end. I'd really like to get through the agenda. That's my opinion.
It's fine.
Yeah, let's wait till polling. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda, like a motion to approve the minutes monthly of August 12th, 2024, the monthly reports in the building department of August 2024, and the police department of August 2024.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? I just want to make a point.
On paper.
Yeah, before that, yeah, discussion, yeah. That I just want to point out the building department numbers, we've exceeded budgets so far. Well, actually exceeded budget month of August by a significant amount. So we're on good track to over the next 4 months to test some good numbers.
We're 50 grand below last year at this point in time, so we're on track to exceed last year's revenue, which is great.
50 grand below last year at this
Below
time.
the total.
As of this
annual
point in
total.
time in the year, we're 50 grand behind last year's entire
Total, correct.
So,
Right.
just to give us context.
Right.
That's great.
So we're total 979,000. Our budget was, I think Kevin's here. The budget was 7 and change or 650. 8. Okay.
It's on the spreadsheet.
Okay. So yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. So, okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Okay, next, old business. I'd like to start with Katie with her presentation. Katie McGinn. She's going to give basically it's a summary of where we are and a refresher on the proposed zoning code update process. And Judd is here as well, so he'll give us some feedback as well as to where we are with the local laws and yeah, okay.
Okay, Katie, you're unmuted.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody.
So Katie, if you can hold on a second, I just want to share my screen here so the folks on Zoom and here in the room can see the presentation.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, so this will be a quick presentation. Just to refresh everybody's memory on all the work that has been going on to develop the proposed zoning code updates. And it's been almost 4 years in the making total. We're really happy to report that the comprehensive plan was approved. So thanks again to the board and to all the volunteers and community members that were involved with that process. That on its own was a huge undertaking, and so much of the community came out to participate. So the zoning code on top of that is just another step in making sure that that all the input received from the public is filtered into the plan and to the laws and where the town is going in the future. So tonight I'll just touch super briefly on background, how we got to this point with the proposed zoning code updates, and how the town board specifically has been involved and provided input to date, and then give a quick overview of what the proposed zoning code updates are, and then talk about next steps, and at that point can take questions from the board as well. So, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, you're good. Next slide. Okay, so background. As per New York State town law, all of our zoning has to be in accordance with the goals and the objectives laid out in the comprehensive plan. So knowing that we were going to be undertaking a comprehensive plan update, the town board in the winter of 2021 thought it would be best to issue the RFP for the zoning code and comprehensive plan services to be done all at once and running in tandem with each other rather than finishing the comprehensive plan first and then going back out and hiring a consultant again to do the zoning code updates. And the goal here, and this has definitely been the case, has been to maximize efficiencies, accomplish both as part of one project, saving the town time and money. And so when the consultant team came on board in early 2022, they came on board with a plan and with the understanding that they would help the town update the comprehensive plan and all of the related zoning code issues that that flowed from the new comprehensive plan. And then as an additional step in the winter of 2023, as the process was going on, there were a bunch of additional zoning code issues that that came up that the town board authorized expanding the project scope and using funds awarded by the Hudson River Valley Greenway Grant to cover those. And I will touch on that later in the presentation of that last batch of zoning and where that came into the process. So that's the brief background of how we got here. The steering committee has been involved from the beginning, really managing the process. And our main mission was ensuring that there was wide-reaching and inclusive public engagement and public input. The zoning subcommittee was formed to specifically review the first draft of the consultant recommendations with regards to the zoning code. And I'll walk through on the next slide who was part of the zoning subcommittee. The consultant team, you know them well. They're the actual ones who were actually translating the feedback from the public into the comprehensive plan objectives and then into the zoning code amendments. And the town board has been reviewing draft materials along the way and providing advanced questions or concerns. And the town board is the body that ultimately approved the comprehensive plan and will be approving the zoning code amendments. So the zoning subcommittee was formed in August 2023 based on a recommendation from the consultant team. Can you just scroll down a little bit more? Perfect, okay. So members of the zoning subcommittee included me and then Andrea Rendo and Dan Welsh as town board liaisons. Also Janet Anderson as the planning board chair, Rose Bonanno as ACARC chair, Charlene Indelicato as a planning board member and a steering committee member, and then Robin Price, the ZBA chair, and John Wolf, the CAC chair and also steering committee member. And Judson Siebert and Jan Johansson participated in and reviewed all of the drafts along the way and in the meetings. And then Gregory Fulchetti was also copied on all of the correspondence and had access to all of the drafts as well. So town board, just a refresher on how much you've been involved to date. So going back to October 2023, that's when the first draft of proposed edits for the zoning code were shared with the town board. And the way we did this was we had live editing via Google Drive. So once you had the links, you could see all of the track changes and comments that were being made and watch them as they evolved over time. There was a second batch in November and then a third batch in December. And in December was when we brought the request to the town board to authorize a fourth batch of edits and new regulations. And then next slide, please. So in January, the final drafts were shared with the town board and publicly posted on the town website. That was in advance of the January 29th, 2024 public workshop, where the draft comprehensive plan and zoning code amendments were presented and discussed with the public. The beginning of February was when that fourth batch of additional proposed edits were shared with the town board and live via Google Drive. And then February 23rd of this year, that's when all of the drafts were then posted publicly on the town board website. And there is a presentation in February to the town board, and then we had public office hours in March. There were 2 different dates, and community members were able to make an appointment and then speak one-on-one with Valerie from the consulting team to ask their specific questions and raise their specific concerns about either the comprehensive plan or the zoning code amendments. And then the town board has had 2 work sessions reviewing and discussing the drafts, one in March and one in May. So that's how we got to where we are. And the overview of the zoning code amendments falls into two categories. So there's proposed updates to existing zoning code. And you can see here, it starts with ACARC, and then in the next column ends with site development plan approval. And then the other category is proposed new regulations. It starts with excavation and fill, and then there's steep slopes protection. And then these ones with stars next to them, those were the second batch that were posted in February. Everything I mentioned previously was posted publicly in January of this year. So one of the new regulations is battery energy and storage, EV charging stations, streets and sidewalks, solar energy, and wireless. And this is important. So since everything has been available for town board review and comment and posted publicly, the only change that has come out of the discussion and the work sessions has been that all of the original zoning board of appeals special permits will now remain under the zoning board of appeals. In other words, at the drafts as they stand now, which is different than they previously stood, none of the ZBA's authority will be transferred to the planning board. So that's the only change that has come out of the process since everything's been publicly posted.
Change that there'll be no change.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So where it is now is that there will be no change. No authority is going to be transferred. But that is that's an update that has come out of the town board review and input process. And the town board tonight will be discussing the proposed battery energy and storage regulations that are in draft form, and you'll be able to decide if they encompass the public concerns that have recently been raised. So all of these documents are available on the town website. There's a very helpful summary table that goes through all of the proposed changes and these hyperlinks that you can see in the document. When you click on a hyperlink, it'll take you to the document that has the regulations, and all of the changes that have been proposed are in track changes form. So it's really easy to see what's being proposed, how it's different than previous regulations, and that's all been publicly posted since January 2024. So the next steps are to schedule public hearings for all of those zoning code amendments as one hearing, and then referral to the Westchester County Planning Board, to the Lewisboro Planning Board. And then down the line, there will be a separate and future review of septic and short-term rental regulations that are in draft form, but require a lot more town board discussion and public input before they make their way to final draft form. So any questions or comments from the town board?
Judd, could you just, just the way we have it framed on the presentation, talking about overview of amendments. Right. And then the two categories are proposed updates and new regulations. So the language is, just if you can maybe give us some more of apples to apples.
Well, yeah, with regard to the slide that Katie presented, that relates to the current zoning code now. So that upper category of topics are all topics that are currently specifically addressed in your code and regulated. The bottom tier are provisions of the code that either are non-existent in the zoning code, so for which new regulations are being drafted and folded into the code. We're going to amend the entire code. So there are sections that are just going to be either left intact, that's the upper tier, or tweaks with regard to those provisions. The bottom set are brand new regulations that'll be part of the code.
So we have like three categories. We have also like ministerial updating language in one category, updating existing regulations somewhat. And
Yeah.
completely new.
Yeah, that's exactly. Some of the changes are strictly, look, the code was outdated. There've been changes in town law. They're little, like you said, procedural ministerial things that we just needed to bring up to date. That's all been done. That's kind of like housekeeping. That second set was a little more substantive in the sense of looking at existing code provisions. Do they work? You know, what's the experience been? ZBA, planning board, you know, are there ways to tweak them to make them more effective or to, you know, to eliminate things that may be problematic or that, so that, and then that third set is we're creating new regulations basically from I say whole cloth. I mean, obviously we had the assistance of planning consultant and it's not as if it's new territory in other jurisdictions, but they're new to Lewisboro.
So Judge, just to be clear to everyone, tonight,
Right.
the only thing that we're doing is setting a date for public hearing.
So,
And at the public hearing, then the public has the right to come in and comment on any particular section, amendments, standalone, et cetera. And then at that point, we don't close the public hearing, but rather we refer it over to the county planning and our
to the
planning board.
right.
And then it comes back to us with their comments at such time. Then either there'll be additional comments from the public in writing or otherwise, and then we'll close the hearing and vote. So
Correct.
we're not voting on any specific
Well,
section or anything. this evening.
and I, so now I have to.
We have an update to
Break
that.
my news,
Go ahead.
my update to that. With regard to setting the public hearing, I will tell you, we are still in the process of taking all the work that the committee has done and put it into local law form, and it's multiple local laws because each local law has to deal with a distinct subject matter. So when we talk about updates to the zoning code, we're updating the zoning code, but there are other town code provisions, some of which, like the subdivision regulations, we're updating. Those really tie into quote unquote zoning. But there's also like the wetlands code. We're updating the wetlands code. Is it zoning? Technically, it's not, but this was the appropriate time to look at that. So bottom line, in terms of trying to put everything that we've got, I'm trying to tell you, it's not ready. It's not packaged yet.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So we're
I-
looking at a longer
yeah,
date,
so,
but the
yeah.
goal is.
The
in my
goal is
opinion,
to set a
do
public
it all
hearing.
together.
Yes,
correct?
our projection, and some of this quite candidly is just, you would think it's kind of a rote task of taking the track change stuff and putting it, it's just taking a lot of time mechanically and then to proof it and make sure we're picking everything up. So we anticipate having those local laws on your desks for your October meeting, at which time you could set a public hearing.
So it's, you said zoning, but looking about the Westlaw head note, it was zoning and planning.
But.
For those of us who aren't attorneys.
Right.
What we're doing is cleaning up our town code and making sure that it's in the 21st century and it's consistent.
Correct.
And thoughtful.
Consistent, thoughtful, responsive to comments that, you know, as Katie mentioned, this process was one that solicited public input. You heard from residents, you had representatives of the boards that are, you know, the planning board, the ZBA, that are there kind of where the rubber hits the road and see some of the problems. You had, Jan involved from a planning perspective, obviously the NPV,
Right.
but Jan from a local planning perspective. So yes, that's accurate.
So we're pretty much on track. We just need a
Yeah,
little bit more time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just, and that's fine. It's better to do it right the first time than to have to
Right.
go back and fix it later. And I understand that, you know, we're trying to stay on a specific timeline, and for the most part, steering committee has, in my opinion, stayed on that timeline. We did take some extra time in, we had an additional work session having to do with those zoning text amendments and the changes to the special permit section. So that took a little bit more time, but at least we were thoughtful. So if while you're here is just to say that we need a little bit more time.
little more
before we
time.
Set a hearing.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
fine with
that.
But to be
And-
clear, it's not, there are no additional changes. This is just putting what was already
No,
agreed
right.
on.
The
into
only.
local
and-
laws for
and
the public hearing.
I don't want to jump ahead. The only potential and
Challenge.
is your next, no, in terms of what you might have, it relates to your next discussion item, and that's the battery,
Right.
the BSS, because it is something that was drafted, right? And it is a topic of concern. I don't want to jump ahead to that, but it's within the board's discretion if they prefer to have that excised, for continued review, that can be done.
Right.
And be presented to you as part of the October.
As a standalone.
Well, it would come out of the zoning. We would just excise it from what's currently in the zoning draft. Yeah.
Right.
And just on the time thing, that what you're talking about, so
Well, considering the fact that it's been since 1985.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, the steering
we're
committee,
Doing pretty well.
the steering committee members was about 13 months. And we were talking about a 1.5 to 2 year process, if anything, we're ahead of schedule where we, they're in this project, so to make work.
Yeah, and the other piece, and as I told the board before, in terms of staging and when I'm talking about comp plan, I'm talking about your zoning regulations.
Mhm.
That is the essential kind of predicate. That's the foundation and that's the guiding document. And the board needed to and properly went through thorough review, adopted that in August. So once that was done, now we turn to the zoning. And is it going to take a little longer? Not a lot, but it's moving.
Better, that's fine. Better to do it right the first time. That's.
So first meeting in October, we'll set the public
Set
hearing.
public hearings, yeah.
And local laws will be ready
Yeah.
for publication.
You'll have.
Yeah.
If you want to read it all again, you can read all.
I look
Set the
forward
public,
to it.
have the public hearing?
No, set it, yeah.
Set
Because
it.
we'll have the
Yeah.
final draft of
Local
everything
laws.
by then, so that it'll be ready to publish. So, and if we wanted to, with the battery storage, when you say excise it out, do you mean perhaps add it into the list of the other items that are being handled separately? such
Yes,
as the
yeah,
sewer and
right, such the sewer,
Yeah.
right, and
Yes.
short-term rental, right,
That might be a good idea.
right.
Can we go ahead? Do we need? Can we go ahead and do that?
All I would need is, it's not a motion, it's just basically kind of board consensus or
Yeah, so
what do you want to see when you get this package in October? Do you want to have, the code as in the current formulation from the committee deliberations and outcome, which would include it? Or do you want to just pull it out and, like you said, put a pen in it, park it with short term, with sewers?
Option 2 is
With,
where.
yeah, and then, I'm not advocating,
yeah.
but this is your call. Yeah.
But there's existing language in the current code that will support if someone comes in with a battery storage project.
Well, yeah, so
Right.
if you were going to do that, I'm like rolling right into 2 and
Yeah.
but the board, as one of the members of the public commented, and Greg's familiar with it, our firms, there are a number of municipalities that have adopted moratoria.
And that was my recommendation to the board, is to do that. So can we do that? We could do that now.
You could do
and at the
that
same
at
time,
any
excise the language from.
Yeah, and
from the
excise, yeah,
others.
right.
Yeah.
In putting your hat on for the planning board,
Mhm.
outside your hat on the steering committee, there are no current applications for battery storage before the planning board.
No. No.
So in light of that.
So then that's a good question, because oftentimes, so long as there's nothing kind of in the hopper, there's no immediate need for a moratorium, but if you have one ready and something happens, so long, the thing with a moratorium is the board cannot use the moratorium as simply a blocking mechanism, right? You have to adopt it, and it has to be, the legitimate purpose has to be for purposes of holding something so you can study it and work on developing the proper regulatory framework. You've been, or the committee's been doing that, obviously, so that work has been done. I think in other jurisdictions, and I'm rolling into item number 2, but I think that in other jurisdictions, what the concern's been, they haven't perhaps had any. I don't know how far or what they've done in terms of it, but they've either had applications and it felt like they need to do it so that that type of facility is not reviewed and regulated under current zoning standards that really don't address that kind of use, right?
But just to be clear, if we didn't adopt a moratorium, and I'm not voicing an opinion either way on that at this moment. But if we didn't have a moratorium and tomorrow someone comes in and presents an application.
You could adopt one.
I could, it doesn't, the only time that it would not stop an applicant is if it had already been approved.
Right.
Before the moratorium was
Right.
put in place. So.
Right. And I mean, I don't want to get too far in the weeds. The only other difficulty municipalities get into at times, and I don't think any of the municipalities I've mentioned are in that situation, is when there's an application for something that there's either going to be a rezoning in the works, or there's no moratorium, and there's like a purposeful gumming up the application at the administrative level to slow it down. And under those circumstances, courts can under exercise of equity. I'm sorry, I'm being a lawyer, but
No, that's.
they
all
can
right.
step
I made
in
it
and
to
they
it.
can
I
step in and
understand.
say,
Right.
they get the benefit of but that's,
Understood.
those are rare cases.
So for our friends at home, what we're doing right now is thinking about the moratorium, and we want to do it right. So if someone comes along and applies for that kind of use, that we have the structure
That's
to
it.
address it in an ethical and legal manner.
Right.
That considers the
Right.
needs
And
and desires of our community.
and the thing I was going to mention, the other thing that these other municipalities I think have focused on, one, they're in a situation where they have an application and they want to stop to do this. The other thing is that the governor did create a special task force to look at these types of uses, and there are proposed code changes at the state level on the fire code, which are still under review. But the idea is, if there is a task force that's doing work currently to look at the technology and look at the safety issues and all the rest, it may inform local regulatory decision making.
And there's going to be a conference in Westchester later this year. I wish I had the date, but it's like October, November or something like that, with state officials coming down to hold a workshop, and we could probably benefit from waiting and sitting through that and then having that as input for our fund.
So you can adopt a moratorium. Yeah, you're free to do so. It's a question of whether you feel you need to do it immediately. That's your call. Yeah.
So, but based upon where Lewisboro was at, the application, the moratorium path that we're thinking about.
You're gonna
Is the right
start, you're gonna start a clock tick, you'll start typically there's 6 months, you'll start that 6 month clock ticking. Yeah,
But we're not stepping in front of anything that's
there's nothing right now.
right. Okay. Just to be clear.
Lewisboro is not actually a big target for this project, so probably not. But
Anything else?
Great. Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
And thank you, Katie.
Thank you. Anything else for me?
Thanks, Katie. No, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Katie.
So do we want to give thought to that, what we're going to do with the battery energy storage systems, or do we want to?
I would like it separated out, because I think that it in and of itself is going to take time. And I think that we have many people in the community that have very strong opinions on this and would want to be heard. I think bunching it together with the other ones may not do it justice.
Right, no, I think, yeah, we should do that, but I was actually referring to the moratorium. We want to
Well, as
think about that, have a discussion with our attorney.
So my thought on that, and we can ask for advice of counsel, is that if we have no applications pending, then, you know, I think we may be leaning towards that, but I would like that 6-month clock
Pushed out.
correct, so that, we're looking at it now. And that 6-month clock, that way, it
Okay.
kind of extends further. That's my initial thought. I am open to other opinions and consideration on that. I just want to make sure that period lasts as long as possible.
I'm okay with waiting. We can review it
We can discuss it.
next month, 2 months.
Well, should just, yeah, as far as the timing, I'd like to get, not necessarily this moment, get some input from council as far as the time.
Right.
And is it necessarily, is 6 months the maximum amount of time that we can have a moratorium, or can it be 1 year?
My suggestion is you do it for 6 months, and if you're not included in making whatever findings you make based upon the benefits and the concerns of the facilities, then you can extend it for another 6 months, but I wouldn't do it more than 6 months at a given time. And it's same in standard local law process. You're gonna have to set a public hearing, conduct a public hearing, and make some secret determination before you adopt it.
Yeah.
I agree with everything the judge said.
Okay. So we'll put that on a future agenda. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe sometime next month we should put it.
Yeah.
This is a photograph.
Pull it out.
Please
Yeah.
pull it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. All right, so next we have the employee handbook. So we've done a lot of work. We've been working on this for over a year, almost 2 years. And we're at a point now where we have received union feedback from the 3 unions. And at this point, we'd like to approve the handbook as in its current version. So I'd like to go ahead and motion that we approve the employee handbook
Second.
at the current version. Discussion?
Discussion. So more prompted by more recent events, I re-reviewed what is proposed as our social media policy and compared it to other social media policies. And I really think that it needs to be adjusted. And I have some suggestions, which I attempted to print out for everyone, but due to technological difficulties and the fact that my printer won't work, I'm going to have to email it to everyone. But my suggestions are as follows.
You just as context, say what your problem with the social media as
It needs to be expanded to include other types of instances. So for
Has this been run
instance,
by Greg at all at this point? Or no?
I don't need to run it by Greg. I'm making suggestions at a
Okay.
public meeting to my colleagues on the board.
Yeah.
That include the following. It should also include employees who publish personal or professional opinions must not invoke their town of Lewisboro title when not representing the town of Lewisboro. In such cases, users must use a disclaimer such as the following, where technically feasible. Quote, the postings on this site are my own and do not represent the position, strategy, or opinion of the town of Lewisboro. Second, employees are prohibited from making any discriminatory, disparaging, defamatory, or harassing comments when using social media or otherwise engaging in any conduct prohibited by the town of Lewisboro's harassment policy. Third, although not an exclusive list, some specific examples of prohibited social media conduct include posting commentary, content, or images that are defamatory, slanderous, pornographic, proprietary, harassing, libelous, or that create a hostile work environment. Social media behavior may in no way harm or tarnish the image, reputation, and or goodwill of the town of Lewisboro and or any of its employees. It is highly recommended that employees, volunteers, or representatives keep the town of Lewisboro social media accounts separate from personal accounts. Those are some of my suggestions, which I think that we need to incorporate, especially in light of some recent events that I really don't feel like addressing at this time.
do we have the option of adopting the employee handbook sans a social media component? And do that as a separate standalone, or what's our option as part of it?
You could adopt it at this point without any social media, for starters, you have the motion to second.
Right, we're in discussion.
Yeah.
So, but if you would do that, you could have a motion to adopt it, excising the social media section, and then you can amend the book further afterwards, right? Or social media policy section, I should say. You can do that.
Or should adopt it with the social media
And
section.
then either way.
Because we don't have a social media policy at all, really, so.
Carrie, the new handbook does have a section on social media. Do you have a printout of it right now? No.
It's,
I do.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up.
Speaking of technology problems, I couldn't connect to the internet.
And I will resend. I'm sorry, Janet, I sent you the wrong version. It still needed to be, there was an edit I just saw. Let's see.
Whatever you amend would have to
Hold
go back
on.
as far as units again.
correct.
Yes.
That's, yeah.
Have that process whenever you know. Right now.
At this point, the version we have has been vetted by the 3 unions and, yeah.
I think it's 420 something. If you scroll down just a little bit more.
Yeah,
Social media.
Yeah, right there.
13. Okay.
Oh, it's popping, yes.
search, control that.
Messaging, influencer, social media.
Right here it is. Okay, so right now, as if you'll excuse my dry throat, it's been a number of meetings today. The purpose of the policy is to provide the framework for employee usage of social media, both when inside the workplace or for conduct outside the workplace that impacts the workplace. Social media in general refers to the internet. We know what social media is. And then it scrolls down and it says, the following uses of social media are prohibited. These terms pertain to content posted from computers or communication systems that are not town-owned, as well as those that are town property. And it says disclosing confidential. But then there's also, wasn't there
Posting, uploading, or sharing images.
statement formal policy?
Posting anything in the name of the town or in a manner that could reasonably be attributed to the town without prior written authorization from the acceptable department head. That's another one. Representing that the individual employee's opinion or statement is the formal policy of the town or any individual acting in their capacity as a town official or otherwise on behalf of the town when that is not the case. That's about as close as we get to what I said.
No, that's a different version of what I was reading last night that I printed out.
Go back to the top, 413.
Social media policy statement.
Is it say about this? Yeah, that's the latest one.
Yes, this is the one that
That's the
Carrie
latest.
sent us in full.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was reading
Okay,
an older version.
So what I would recommend is adopt it the way it is, and then if we want to amend the social media, I mean, right now, this gives us something that we don't have. And it gives us some sort of, I guess, guide rails around social media.
It says employees should ensure that no personal correspondence appears to be an official communication with the town.
So we have a second. Any
And
further
this-
discussion?
This is the discussion.
Right,
I also think that since it's been past all 3 unions, that the form that we have right now is that we adopt it as it stands as the fact that it's not as expansive as it should be, and then
amend it.
send the amendments to the unions for their input and then adopt the amendment.
The only thing I would say is that if I just, from an administrative point of view, if we do that, and it goes and it gets printed, and then we amend it, it's gonna have to get printed again, which is gonna cost us twice as much, and it has to be redistributed again.
Why does that have to get printed?
Because if we amend it and we change it and we make some of the adjustments, or we adopt some of the phrases that I outlined, and you're going to have to reprint the entire handbook with the new updated policy in it.
Well, but still my question, why reprint? There's no need to reprint. We send it out electronically to.
I didn't know that. I thought
employees.
there was still. a
There
hard
isn't a
copy.
requirement. Well, we'll keep one hard, right, Janet? I mean, you keep one hard copy, and that's it.
But I just printed out.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be one on the website, or is it only distributed electronically?
We don't have it on the website now. We never have.
No, that's fine. I was just asking. If this is new, it's a
Right.
new concept that.
But it's
so-
for employees, so
Yes.
it's.
Tony would be an easier issue and I discussed it with you. If Dan was amenable to, changing his Facebook reference that doesn't have anything to do with the town position. That would be make it easier as far as taking the interim step.
Can I have that disclaimer in my profile, wherever that goes? No. I don't mind that.
It's not just
I
a
mean-
disclaimer, it's also just taking down any reference to you being a town official.
Oh, well, that's a little much. That's just who I am.
No, but that's,
Yeah.
but it's not,
It's not,
it's a personal, the issue is, and this ties into the whole,
So that's separate.
quagmire.
Yeah.
No, it's not,
Well,
no, it's trying to solve the problem, really, is what it is. Certainly as far as the interim, if Dan, has been brought up both privately and publicly, if Dan would change his Facebook titling just to as an individual, then that would address a lot of the issue, including what would need to be incorporated within an amendment to the social media policy.
If I may.
Sure.
As it's currently proposed in the section that we've got, I found what I was reading last night and the night before. And the night before that, we'll keep going back to it. And this is what it says: an employee's social media usage must comply with town policies pertaining to, but not limited to, non-discrimination and harassment, confidentiality, and violence in the workplace. Any unlawful harassment, discrimination, or retaliation that would not be permissible in the workplace is not permissible between coworkers online, even if it is done after hours outside the workplace using computers or communication systems that are not town-owned.
Well, yeah, so on that point,
I think there's meat there on.
well, there isn't it, yeah, oh, your point is including the post about the majority of the board members, yeah. That's kind of what I guess you do.
I suggest we adopt it and if you want to add the word, the amendment, we can do that. But I think there's enough here to address what we're facing.
Yeah, we could take like your recommended changes, run that through Greg. Got to make sure it's legal.
And then
We
circulate
issue an
them.
amendment.
Well, circulate them to the unions
Well,
first.
Correct, yeah.
This is think about my 3-ring binders. When somebody gets an employee book, is it a bound book? Or you can add in pages when things get updated, an employee manual, I don't know how that.
They get it electronically,
Oh, okay, so then it's,
PDF.
It's a piece of
It's
cake.
21st century.
okay, so it's, okay, well, right, so then it's less of an issue.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
No,
Aye.
I
Okay, next is, we have discussion on the advertisement for bids for the town pool bathhouse general contractor. Nicole is here, so maybe you can come up to the podium. This is basically, we have we've been working with our Joe Tramelli from Color Sessions, together with the architect that's designing the town pool bathhouse, and we have a draft of the bid spec. And what we want to do tonight is approve the advertisement for bids for the bathhouse once that bid spec is finalized. Correct, Nicole?
Correct.
Okay.
Bid spec,
Is it close?
it is very close. We are expecting those bid documents to be made available on September 23rd to the public, along with the notice for publication date. We then expect a pre-bid walk date on Wednesday, the 25th. And we plan to open,
Let me show you what you're gonna be bidding on, kind of.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
making it mandatory. Yep. And then opening date Friday, October 18th. And intending to be on the town board agenda for October 28th.
So the bid process opens up, we're talking about October 18th, right?
Is when we would open the bids.
How long does that stay open?
No,
No, that's what they, yeah, sorry.
Physically open the bids that are.
Physically open.
The bids are
Correct.
in, and then we open.
They're made public on September 23rd. So
Okay,
2 weeks from today.
Oh, the dates were, but doesn't have to be a statutory period, how long that they're open for, or,
It's been.
It's-
How long the bidding period's open?
yeah, oh, okay,
That's the minimum. We usually do it for longer.
okay, oh, that's what
And then
confused
they
me,
can-
okay.
Held open by the bidders. We'll go through the process of getting the contract signed, going through the bond and insurance for a period of somewhere between 30 and 90 days. So that price can't go up. It's not that fast. Okay. But we're doing almost 30 days.
Yes.
This is having, not specific, one question, I guess, as far as the timing, I'm just picking up off of what Greg said. Is there gonna be a provision in there that something to the effect that the bidder is gonna hold open or hold that cost up and through next
Yeah,
year?
there usually is. I haven't,
Correct. We
That's
have,
draft,
we have the dates tentatively set for, start of work November 18th and ending anticipated May 1st.
Right, so.
So it would be
Okay.
correct
Well,
in that contract.
Right, so I guess my point is if we're trying, we're doing everything we can to try and get this, for underway this year, which question is if whatever reason we cannot.
Usually the delay is you have the bid opening, you have the vetting of the bids, and then the board is going to recommend. Going to be recommendation, the board is the most responsible for that.
Right.
After that, the bidder gets a notice of award. They then submit their insurance and their bonds for review. Once those are informed, the contract gets signed and they get a notice of award. I notice to proceed after that. Okay. So the bid bond prevents them from pulling their bid in that interim period between the opening and the notice to proceed. And then after that, there's a contract. That I don't know what it ended up being. I thought it was 120 days, but they'll have the prices are good for the contract and the contract. I mean, there's a delay during the course of it. You can expect a request for a change order. It goes to 150 days, but no reason at this point that you know that.
All right, so as it stands, we're covered near the ordinary contract process, bid process, okay.
so like a motion for us to advertise for the bids for the town pool bathhouse.
If I may make that motion,
Oh, sure,
thank you.
right ahead.
I'll second.
Shouldn't make a motion yet.
No,
No, I probably,
Oh, you said you wanted to make that motion. I thought you wanted to.
no, I don't need to say it. I would like to be the one that motions
Oh,
that we advertise for this.
okay.
So thank you.
So the motion's done.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and you seconded, Andrea? Okay, discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Do we?
No.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so moving on to new business, we have resolution authorizing Lewisboro Garden Club to expand Golden Road's plantings on town property, which is along Main Street, and George Scott is here to explain that to us.
And recovering.
George Scott, representing the Lewisboro Garden Club. We're requesting for our 18th annual planting that we plant down on town property, which is just the other side of the South Salem Post Office. It's a big grassy area. I've worked with John Winter. They're going to do some remediation work there. And so we're leaving plenty of room for him to get in and out. And he's very happy with that. And specifically what we're asking for, excuse me, is to plant 4,000 golden yellow daffodils. And we'd be planting 3 feet setback as we usually do for walking. And then we would plant 10 feet back and approximately 180 feet long with some gaps to stay away from the trees and the shade. We find the daffodils don't like that, and they'll perform well for a couple of years, then peter out. So we're staying away from that. Our planting will be, and oh, by the way, it will be the same golden yellow daffodil, the Carlton, that we planted on both sides of the exit drive from the townhouse right here and the library, which a lot of people seem to like. And this will give us a long stretch all the way down from South Salem Presbyterian Church down to here. And altogether, we planted 60,000 daffodils so far. The planting date will be November 2nd. There's one issue there that no one seems to know. There's an electrical box of some sort. I don't believe it's voltage because it should be labeled, probably some kind of communication, which is not in our planting area, but there's probably a conduit under there. We will call before we dig and have them flag it for us. And of course, we won't plant there even though it's very deep. Daffodils only go 6 inches, but we don't want to take any chances. And the last thing we're asking for is for the town board to waive the architectural and community appearance review fee for this.
Okay. Thank you, George.
So moved, including a waiver.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, guys. And you're all on my mailing list.
Sounds good. Can't wait to hear John's remediation plan.
Okay, next we have resolution appointing Bridget Chamberlain as an associate member of the Parks and Rec Advisory Council for a term expiring December 31st, 2024. Bridget Chamberlain was vetted by Parks and Rec.
Ian
Right.
Harris, chair.
Ian Harris.
And the.
Yeah, I'll let you talk
And
to the liaison.
she's a good fit for our team. Happy.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and motion to appoint Bridget Chamberlain as an associate member of the Parks and Rec Advisory Council for a term expiring December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Next, we have another appointment it's Chad Burry to the Town Pool Advisory Committee for a term expiring December 31st, 2026.
Same question. How did his name come to us? What qualifications does he have? I don't.
I'll let Nicole talk. Yeah, he was vetted by the current Town Pool Committee and Nicole.
Sorry, Nicole.
He was actually brought by Bill Tackler, chair of Town Pool Committee. So he recommended and proposed to Carrie, and here we are.
And if he recommended.
It's his committee.
Yeah,
So moved.
discussion or second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next we, don't go away, Nicole,
I know.
is approving the hiring of Lothrop Associates Architects DPC for architectural and engineering services for renovation to the restroom structure at Onatru Farm. So if you all recall, we allocated $100,000 from ARPA money to renovate the restroom at Onatru. And this is the firm that will provide the architecture and engineering services. Which can then be used for us to go out to bid for the actual work. Anything else you want to add, or Mary, do you want to add anything?
I don't have anything specific.
Okay.
I mean, details are in there. We're replacing the exterior doors, the overhead door in between for the storage, exterior windows, the hardy plank siding on the exterior of the building, removal and replacement of interior wall finish, new epoxy flooring, removal and replacement of all plumbing fixtures, toilets, accessories, and lighting fixtures. All inclusive of the 100,000 would be their fee and the cost of.
So their fee, their total fee is $16,500. So that would be part of the 100,000 that we allocated for the ARPA.
What we're doing is taking care of what we've got.
Yes.
I move that we approve hiring Lothrop Associates Architect DPC for the architectural and engineering services of renovation to the restoration structure on the tree farm. Do I have to include the not to exceed? Sure. Not to exceed
16,500.
as stated by said supervisor.
Second amendment.
Discussion, all in favor?
Is it
Aye.
roll call or we?
Oh, that's, it's a roll call, okay. All right, Rich,
Mary Shaw, aye.
Andrea Randall, aye.
Tony, I.
Yeah, all shy.
Thank you,
All right.
Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole. Next we have, John Winters here, right? There he is. It's a resolution approving the purchase of a Cam Superline 20-ton trailer for highway department as a piggyback on the GML 10316.
Second.
Okay. That's quick. That's good. Is everyone clear as to what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
We want to make it clear for our neighbors.
We want, John, you want to step up to the mic and just give a brief high level? So John's our highway superintendent.
Good evening. I was
John,
here,
good to give it up.
Highway Superintendent John Winter. I was here a couple meetings ago. What'd you say? I had misunderstood the purchasing and now know when I spend over 20 grand, it's different than hiring someone when you're buying an item. And Greg helped me through the process. I'll admit the other night I went right back to my office and I was trying to find it to walk back over here, and it wasn't until the following morning I found it. And Greg looked it over, and basically the same exact thing as New York State OGS. It's just this dealers in Pennsylvania OGS, and Greg gave us our blessing and said you can piggyback it, so as long as you're okay with it.
And
It's not much different than buying it from a dealer in New York.
And what are we putting on this trailer?
Excavator, that thank you to Pete Harcum, we're getting $150,000 excavator on a crest grant,
yep.
and now we'll be able to move it around.
And we had approved the transfer of funds for. the
Yeah,
purpose back in
that you did
August,
that
so-
day.
Yeah.
Pending purchasing it. I was
Right.
either gonna have to go to bid, but we avoided that by piggybacking this contract.
Right. Okay,
Yeah, motion and second.
Thank you.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, John. Oh, yeah, roll call.
Aye.
Mary Shaw, aye.
Andrea Randall, aye.
Tony, I.
Dan Welsh, aye.
Okay, next, it's also a John Winter item. It's the approving purchase of the F600. It's a Ford F600 truck for the highway department using funds from.
They told Nicole to stay there, but you let me sit back then.
You needed a little.
You need the exercise.
Oh, all right.
For the extra.
I didn't know I was coming here to get beat up.
Yeah, this is
Just want to give another high level view.
Let's see, you're getting a trailer and the 600 truck, not the 550, right?
It's $2,000 more, but it can handle 2,000 pounds more, so it seemed like a much better investment.
And it's more versatile as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hook
You can
lift. That'll
use
be
it-
a whole nother conversation. I wanted to get the truck on order because Ford's cutoff date was second week of September, so It's gonna take a couple months to get the cabin chassis and then. I'm gonna bother Greg again about the building of the truck, but I think I got it pretty figured out.
So
That'll be on Sourcewell, then we just gotta talk about the labor.
And I second it.
Discussion?
Do we need more detail dollar numbers in here or something?
It should be in there, it's like 73.
Yes, in the,
76. You approved the 128 back in February,
Okay, 2,392.
that'll be the total build, should be around there. You bonded 128 back in February,
yeah, there was a bond for a truck.
so this is just the cabin chassis, and then it'll have a hook lift, think of like a dumpster. But it'll be a chip truck, so we can, when we do tree work, I'll have larger capacity for the wood chips, we can. Put more chips in there, and then I'll have a dumpster for. Whatever logs, rocks, dirt, anything, and then. Flatbed to move anything else, so it can't be like 3 trucks in one, like a Swiss Army with the trucks.
we have to modify the motion, Greg, we good motion second, or good,
I think just 73,292 is the offer that's priced.
Now, let me, I have a question about that because the ancillary fees, like the New York State dock fee, the inspection and the tire fee, if you add that, it's more than the 73,392, a little more,
I
right?
mean,
That was in that letter from,
74.
Look at it, it's like
yeah.
total amount to the balance on delivery.
I mean, do we need to include those other fees as part of this roll call here, or is that?
That's the purchase order that we have, so. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
All right, so let's go with the purchase.
it's
order.
very vague, because the truck doesn't physically exist yet, it has to be ordered, so it's not like there's a VIN number or anything yet, it literally needs to be built.
Is the purchase order in the package?
I have a copy, but it's. I don't think
Here,
it's-
let me read it out then. Okay,
So how about a not to exceed amount?
I mean, I'm gonna be
It's
coming back,
73,479 with all those other fees, but if Greg's in agreement that we just,
If you have, I didn't know that you had, so. if
Yeah.
You have the total, and you can do the motion that way.
not to exceed 73,500.
yeah, I mean,
$73,500.
motion modified.
And seconded?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Aye.
Mary Shaw, aye.
Andrea Randall, aye.
Tony, on.
And well shot.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Actually, don't go away
Well,
this time, so.
You can jog through the back.
So we have, I put this out for discussion. I had sent out, an email to the board a little while back about press grants and, we have 2 grants from Senator Harcum and one from Assemblymember Burdick. And we have to decide where to spend it on. The deadline is October 1st to get the preliminary application in. And I've had some discussions with John and Joe. And I was gonna touch base with you, Nicole, as well, but I didn't get a chance to, but I'll let you know what Joe said. John is looking for a pickup truck to replace the Ford Explorer.
What's the amount that it's?
It's one is 125,000, the other one is 100,000.
225.
So 25 total, right?
Okay.
So one of the thoughts was to use the $125,000 grant, press grant for the highway pickup truck. And then maintenance needs a replacement truck. Where are my notes here? But they want to replace an existing truck with a dump truck that could be shared with Parks and Rec. Because I think you guys would like another truck. So maintenance doesn't need it all the time. And I think Joe might have spoken to you about it. Briefly.
Two
Little bit?
questions.
Okay.
One, how much does the truck for highway go?
What
The
was
truck that-
number?
I thought it was around 66.
Yeah, I think it's 66 in your email that you sent,
Yeah.
right?
And what would we be doing with the Ford Explorer?
I'd like to keep it. I'm always looking for vehicles. If I have to give it up to get this, I'm willing to, but I have a bunch of regular cab trucks and sometimes you just need to move people, not dirt, not excavators, not
Okay.
pipe. And it'd be good. Sometimes my mechanics gotta go get parts and it's kind of silly to drive a 550 dump truck to Mount Kisco truck, and I'd like the mechanic to be able to take a fuel
Regular
efficient,
car.
small little vehicle, jump on the sawmill, or,
Right.
I'll definitely put it to use, but for my day-to-day, my guys call and they need another shovel or a catch basin or a length of pipe, and I'm just trying to help them out. You know, I can't really do that with the Ford Explorer, and then I help them plow snow. I can't do that with that either. You know, and I look at this vehicle as I'll probably use it personally for my position for, you know, 6, 7 years and then put it into the fleet. And we don't have any crew cab trucks. So again, instead of taking 2 trucks to the job, I'll save wear and tear on vehicles when I can put 4 guys in that truck and, you know, they can take it out. So if I utilize it for 6, 7 years, they use it for 6, 7 years, we could maybe get 15 years out of this truck. I gotta admire my guys take good care of the equipment. We have some older trucks and some of them, the rust starting to show, but I was just talking to my mechanic on the way here and he busts his butt every day, keeping our fleet going. And some of the trucks are getting rusty, some of them are getting old, and some of them have 100,000 miles on them. And they're, you know, for the average person, that's one thing, but you gotta think the wear and tear we put them through, that's a lot.
Right.
So, you know, I'd like to keep adding to my fleet, and that's the other thing I was talking about with my mechanic today was truck 67 grand, 60, 70 grand, you know, so I hate to keep something too long, but at the same point, when replacing it is that much money, if I gotta put a grand or 2 here or there, I'm willing to do it. But I would like to keep adding to my fleet.
So between that truck and Joe, you're glad you came down, so
ears were burned.
Yeah, so if you want to just say a few words regarding the truck that you're looking for, if you could come up to the.
It's a retired highway truck that we use for sanding in the winter.
Right.
And we also use it for cemetery work in the summer. But that truck's getting, it's pretty rough shape, so it can be auctioned off. It has some value to it.
Right.
But we'll replace it with a smaller 1-ton dump.
Right.
And it can also be used by Parks and Rec during the summer.
Right.
We need it mostly in the winter.
If we auction off the truck, right, is it still a highway truck?
Yes.
Does the money go back to highway?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, and so, and the price for that, for the truck you're looking at is.
Yeah, I haven't priced one today, but it's in the neighborhood of 60 for a ton.
But
So between-
that dump truck would go to Parks and Rec and maintenance. right?
Correct.
That's,
The new one.
yeah. So they'll have 3 trucks for Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that's not like a daily driver though. That's not assigned to a person
Right.
for his regular.
But
This would be the truck that
I'm
guys jump
just
in.
thinking when everything hits the fan, you've got enough vehicles to deal with
Yes,
whatever Parks and Rec has to offer.
yes.
Excellent.
So between those 2 vehicles, we're looking at probably utilizing the full $125,000 grant, which was the grant from, I think it was from Harkin.
Yep.
And then we still have another $100,000 press grant, and so we need to decide. You know,
Can I get a truck?
I was gonna say, you want to come up and tell us what you need besides what? Anybody else need a truck?
So as you know, I hired a 3rd parks guy back in June, so I would like another truck, which I proposed in my budget. On contract, it's roughly $63,000.
Okay,
So looking for another pickup.
right, okay. So we can consider utilizing the other grant, and then there's some more money left over for something else.
Correct.
What are our other options for this one? Aside from the jobs?
I don't have, it was in the email I forwarded to everyone. There's a list from
When did you
from,
forward it?
hold on a second. Let me just look up,
What's the parameters of the press grant that be what?
That's what I was asking.
it's a bunch of, it's computer equipment, it's heavy machinery, it's a bunch of items. Hold on. Okay, so. Since July 3rd.
Going back to July.
Yeah, list of eligible projects. Here you go.
It's
I can put this up on the screen if you would like.
recognition of potential to significantly contribute to community resiliency, economic sustainability, and technological advancement.
That's great. About July 3rd.
Yeah, July. Second. Third, actually, hold on a second.
It was just ideas.
Yeah.
This is the same one. Okay, so anyway, it's up on the screen.
Jeez.
So there's construction, the facility, but those are, oh, yeah, let me blow it up a little bit.
The glasses helping one and not the other. Okay.
How's that over there?
Oh, that's better.
That's better.
So one of the thoughts and when I was talking to John is highway's gonna need new radios as well. Could we, I mean, this was before I knew Nicole needed another truck. So I thought of allocating the 100K to radios for highway potentially. But it's gonna be even more than that, so we would have to identify where the rest of the money is gonna come from.
How much for the radios, John?
How much did PD this month?
Sorry?
How much did the police department spend
Oh.
on their?
I think it was 145,000. Yeah. But that was through a grant also. I got that through, I think, yeah, that was a grant.
That was a grant.
Yeah.
Are your needs identical or do they have extra goodies that you don't?
Yeah, I had a discussion before John came on board. I had a discussion with Joe Pesetas and we actually got a quote from the same company that quoted radios for PD. I just don't recall what, and this is going back a year and a half or so. So we'd have to get an update, and then PD ended up going with a different system anyway.
So why don't we just whittle it down and then figure out for the next meeting what we're gonna do with that?
Yeah, so I can, yeah, we can give that some thought. If we get another
said-
truck for Parks and Rec for 60 grand, that means we have about 40 grand left over for something else.
And we have to decide by October 1st.
That's when the preliminary application is due, but I know usually they'll give us a little more time.
We'll put on the agenda for next time,
Yeah,
figure out
Okay.
100,000 allocated.
And we can find out how much those.
but in the meantime, think about it. If you have any, ideas,
Can you gather all these various scenarios that were just presented to us in one document and send it out?
I could. It was in, yeah. It wasn't an email, but I'll go back to that email and update it with the latest information from tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Next time.
Okay, so
So we have to vote
Oh, no, we don't.
on the trucks. The allocation, but
Oh,
just because we have to spend the money in order to get it back. Is it one of those grants?
yes,
That's on 125.
so we could yeah, so I'd say
yeah, we were going to wait until the next meeting.
I thought we were voting on the trucks.
The 125, I think we're good on it, and.
yeah, I think for the 125
The two
we're
trucks.
good on, and then
Didn't we already vote on the two, the trailer and the truck?
no, this is
No,
a separate
this is
truck.
For the Crest grant.
It's for the Crest grant for pickup truck for highway
Okay.
and a new dump truck. It's a dump truck, right, Joel?
Dump
Yeah,
truck
it's
for
a
Joel.
dump truck.
Yes.
Joel, could you just explain so we can make the motion what we're getting for the 125? Explain what it is we're purchasing.
Didn't we already?
Yeah,
We did that.
it's a dump truck.
We now get the motion, dump trucks and.
Dump truck.
It's a dump truck, right?
Yeah, the
Great one.
Chevrolet 3500 series. 1-ton gas engine with plow. It's right now it's replacing a Ford, I think it's a 550 retired highway truck. We put our sander body on it.
Right.
Motion to spend the
Do-
Crest grant is Joel.
Well, yeah, Greg
Yeah,
has something to
is
say.
the Crest grant, is the submission done and you're waiting on a disbursement agreement? For the grant? itself?
No, the submission has not been done.
So what you're doing is authorizing the submission of the grant application for those purposes.
Correct.
And then, once it gets approved, you'll get a grant disbursement agreement.
Which then needs to be approved.
Then to be approved
Yeah.
for those purposes.
Right.
It's just submission, yeah.
Motion is amended by council.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joe.
So don't order it yet, is what I'm saying.
Don't order it yet. That's right.
We got a little more paperwork to do.
All right. All right. So next we have approved contract of sale for 130 Lake Kitchewan Drive. So just to address some of the questions that were brought up on public comments. So when we put out that list and we advertised the list on the website, this property was not on that list because it was not available. It was not a sellable property at that point, and we had somebody living there. It took a while to vacate the premise. And then afterwards, the board agreed at a board meeting to hire a company to clean out the property, the house. We had maintenance do some work on the property itself, and we ended up, the board agreed to list the property with a real estate broker. So it's been on the MLS for 3 weeks, maybe. We got a lot of responses in, and the bid we went with was the highest bid. With the only contingency was a clear title, was 251,000. So it's not a 500 to, I think somebody said it was a $500,000 to $800,000 value. It's certainly not that value. We were actually, when we budgeted, it was part of our budget for 2024. We had put in the budget 179,000 around there.
Less than 200.
Less than 200. And so we're actually getting 251,000. So over the budgeted amount.
So
And it's a very small piece of property, less than a quarter of an acre.
So when it was on MLS, I think there was what, a half a dozen or plus offers on it?
There was about, Kerry, I think we're up to like 7 or 8. Yeah, eight offers, right?
Half a dozen plus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is not a move in-house. This is like someone has to do drastic work on this place pretty much.
Yeah,
knock it
it's
down.
either a tear, it's most people look at it as a tear down, start over, but
There's not even electrical that's working in there, is it? I don't think so.
no electrical, no heating system, no running water. Yeah. So we have the contract is under review. We received it today. So what we're gonna do here is approve the sale of the property at 251,000 with the title contingency. And of course, pending legal review of the contract.
And it's subject to this.
Yes,
Correct.
subject to permissive
Right.
referendum.
Right.
What's title contingency as far as what with
Just
the
unencumbered.
don't.
Clear title.
No, we have to,
You acquired it with tax.
right, so,
That should have been foreclosed many years ago.
right, yeah,
The purchaser had,
That's their
standard to get clean title,
for us to show the
Mhm.
title, okay.
as is otherwise. it's-
Right. Okay.
Okay,
So I'll go ahead and motion to, well, actually, since I have to sign the contract eventually, I guess someone else should motion.
so move that we approve the contract for sale of 130 Lake Kitchewan Drive. Against the offer of
251,000.
$51,000 which was subject to confirmation of clean title and
Permissive.
permissive referendum.
And authorizing the supervisors. Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rich,
Mary Shaw.
Andrea Rendo, aye.
Tony, aye.
Dan Welshine.
Okay, next we have, this is it's a software package that's used by the tax department and also used for our water billing for Oak Ridge. This is a revised, it's in the packet. We had approved this contract, but there was a revision which I think resulted from, it was an acquisition of the companies or merger. So they, well, actually, yeah, this new master, well, the revision was the renewal dates. So the original contract, which was with SCA, is July 1st, 2024, the renewal date. The signed contract had stated April 4th.
So it's a
we need
correction.
so it's a correction, right?
And all other terms and conditions set forth in the agreement remain in effect.
Correct.
Looked at this, Greg? So,
The software company often get.
But-
involved.
yeah.
We have to sign them to the new service.
So my
Mhm.
miracle it didn't happen sooner.
I move that we authorize the supervisor to sign the contract amendment for the Catalyst software master services agreement as presented.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, next we have resolution acknowledging receipt and examination of the justice court audits. So we are required to we'll receive and review the audit that was performed of the justice court finances. That was done as part of our town audit, and those reports was supported to the board. So what we're doing here is acknowledging receipt and examination of that audit.
is that required to be done with certain frequency? Is that
Yeah.
Every year.
NCTA 29 TA requires the justice courts to open their books.
every?
So I'd like to motion that we go ahead and acknowledge receipt and examination of the justice court audit.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, the Bridge New York Escalated Culvert Project. So we got the go-ahead from this is just to give you guys an update. We have an update, received an update from or direction from New York State DOT that we can move ahead with the having our town engineer, or in this case would be Joe Tramelli, work with us on the bid spec for a consultant that will then work in managing the project and going out to bid for the actual construction work of the Oskalita Road culvert. This was a $1.4 million grant that we were awarded by New York State DOT. And so I just wanted to share with the board that this work is now, it's the initial steps to getting that work done.
So Joe, we gonna have a proposal for George Mullen's work on this work?
Yeah, so it's going to be based on the existing agreement we have with them. There's an hourly fee for work that's done outside of their retainer. And that fee is reimbursable by this grant. And then once they put that together, that goes out to we go out to bid for a consultant that's going to develop the bid spec for the construction work.
Is there any,
RFQ.
Or an RFQ.
is there any
request for
not
quotation.
to exceed parameters as far as what they're gonna do in this?
Not really. No.
It's the same person, the same company that we just did with the bathhouse, right?
Right.
So
Well, when we get to that point, I mean, I can certainly get a number if that's what, I don't know what, what that, today, I don't know what that number is. This is just to basically sharing with the board where we are.
well, we should
But I
have,
can, yeah.
some kind of proposal outline.
Yeah, so we have, I was away on vacation, but before I left, we laid it out for Joe Tramelli to look at the information and put something together for us, so,
Great.
yeah. Okay, so that's that. We have two new business items. I'll start with, let's see the first one here, which was the planning board. And I communicated this to the board earlier today. So we have a request from the planning board. This is related to the Lewisboro Commons project. It's for the final release of a performance security held by the town, guaranteeing completion of infrastructure associated with the Lewisboro Commons project. And the town board, the planning board will conduct a public hearing, and this is a request. Let me just read now. For the current performance security is held by Fidelity and Deposit Company in Maryland for Waller Bolter Partners in the sum of $108,163.90, which is 10% of the original performance bond. 90% was released on August 15th, 2023. We approved that release. So this is the remainder.
And
So
we'll see.
we're approving the release of the remainder, or we're approving the planning board to?
The remainder.
Well, we're
The
authorizing the planning board
to do it, yeah.
Decide this. Yeah.
They do your final authorization.
Yes.
But seems like the project is done. All the C of those are
Just, I see confused faces in the audience. It's good for the town board to know when the planning board is gonna make a decision to release such a bond. It's a large sum of money. So by this way, it comes to our attention, and then we basically say, okay, planning board, do your job. Do whatever you need to do to come to the conclusion that the rest of the money can be released back to the developer. That's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And they make sure that all the requirements are met before that it is released.
Right. It's a performance bond, right? So I'd like to motion that we go ahead and allow the planning board to release the performance or return the final 10% of the performance bond deposit, which equals $108,163.90.
Following a public hearing that they hold. Or no?
Yes.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next I have, this is a request for, this actually came from Daniela Goldman. Request for the October 7th memorial. This is on October 7th from 7 to 8 p.m. On a Monday, and the request is to waive the request is to waive the fees for this event. And since this is a memorial, I'm in favor of waiving the fees. Typically we do it for not-for-profits, but it's a memorial, so.
Yeah, if you want, I can describe what we're.
If you can, yeah, if you want to step up and describe it.
So we are going to host, I submitted the request.
Could you
Oh,
introduce
sorry.
yourself to the friends at home?
Daniela Goldman, Vista resident. I had submitted a request to Parks and Rec last week about holding a memorial service October 7th at Town Park at the Pavilion from 7 to 8. It will be a memorial service to honor the innocent lives lost on that day, as well as the remaining hostages. It's a free event for all community members. The service will feature contributions from various interfaith clergy members offering prayers and reflections in remembrance. Additionally, we will hold a candlelight vigil as part of the ceremony where we can come together to pay our respects and support one another in this time of remembrance. We hope everybody will join us to gather in honor of these innocent lives lost. Thanks.
Thank you.
But thank you for waiting.
Well, now we have to vote
Oh,
on
sorry.
it.
Did you make a motion on that, or you just gave a sense? Okay, I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. That's it. Now we go to public comment number 2. Anybody, and this is for new business items only, so anybody here would like to comment on our new business items? Name, Hamlet, 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Beth Ureski, Golden's Bridge, resident. So just a couple of things. First of all, Andrea, thank you for the explanation in terms of the planning board. The reason why I had a confused face on was because just in my experience when working with other towns, and every town obviously does what's good for them. There's no right or wrong way to do it as long as the job gets done. It just, in my experience, I have just seen that a planning board in that particular type of situation makes the recommendation to the town board for the release. The town board then approves it and they release the funds. So I was just surprised just to hear that the planning board, again, not a bad thing, not a good thing, just something different, that's all, but I appreciate and thank you. Thank you for waiving the fee for the October 7th event. It means a lot to us. As many of you know, we feel very strongly about the compassion and empathy towards that whole entire situation. We do hope that the entire community, even others from outside of our community, join us. If anyone has any recommendations, what they thought might be a good idea to be included in the event, keeping in mind the perspective, parameters, and boundaries that we're trying to create for that day and that event, we certainly welcome them. And we just hope everyone comes and enjoys and, get something meaningful out of it. So thank you.
Anyone else here would like to speak?
Kevin Uretsky, Golden's Bridge. I'll echo what my much better half said in that, thank you for waiving the fee. The most important part of it was that it was unanimous. So I'd like to acknowledge that and say thank you, and that should be noted. Question of order or whatever else. I'd like to say something that the handbook, I know technically was under old business in the agenda, but you took new action. So I'd like to say something if I could.
It's old business, so really, it's not under the new business. But
You took action and brought new information to light.
I mean, it's up to, if the board's.
So either way, I'm asking, I'm not just,
To the rules.
I understand that, but that's why I'm asking, because it's
Yeah.
kind of a gray area. So
Well,
yay, nay, it's up to you guys.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Real quickly. I understand you guys are adopting the handbook for your employees. That's fine. I'm not an employee. Most of the people here are an employee, obviously. Nicole and other people are. It affects them more. However, just a thought that you guys might want to consider. As the public, like even some of the board members were surprised that there was no hard copy that's handed out, or on file or so on and so forth. Janet's the only one who has the file under, lock and key and super secret probation circumstances.
Right on my book.
Yeah, I know, I'm kidding. However, I suggest and, think you guys might want to consider posting it once it's adopted, once it's finalized, make sure it's posted on the town website. Here's why. Even though some of us are not employees, and I think this is for your benefit as well, if the general public knows the rules employees are being held to and the standards that are expected of them, and it's there in black and white, it will limit, for your guys' benefit, some of the back and forth that you guys have had to deal with over the last year, and not just about one particular issue, but about all issues, because it's there in black and white. People come to this room to come to a meeting, talk during public comment. They want to talk about you guys or any one of the employees or so on and so forth. There's no misinterpretation there. There's no, well, I don't know because I don't have the handbook. There's no this, it's there in black and white. Plus, just an extra consideration as taxpayers, considering the fact that we help pay the salaries of the town employees, it's not necessarily a bad thing for us to know what the standards that they're held to. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else like to speak? How about on Zoom, Janet?
Yes. Carol Cernak, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, it's Carol Cernak, South Salem, New York. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just have a quick question and one comment. My question is for Parks and Rec. When Nicole was talking about replacing the siding, I'm not clear if it's replacing hardy plank or replacing the existing siding with hardy plank. seems that hardy plank should last, a lot more years than typical siding. And the other thing is about the sale of the house in Kitchewan. I guess you all have done what you need to do to be upfront and legal, but why not post that someplace to the community that it's up for sale? I mean, I don't understand that. And lastly, the other thing is that I really don't care to hear what Dan Welsh has to say in polling of the board. And that's it. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Carol. Mickey Denicola, I'm asking you to mute.
Hi, Mickey Denicola, Golden's Bridge again. Not to beat the dead horse, but concerning that property, I looked it up before this meeting. And it says all of the major real estate sites say off market. If a property is in contract, it cannot be removed. If it's pending, if it's in contract, that should show up, but every site shows off market. So I'm just curious as to why it says that when the explanation is it was posted on MLS and it should still be there. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mickey. Simone O'Connor, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, I also am curious as to that property again, because a while back, I'm sure a lot of people remember that the confidential secretary of the time was trying to buy a property secretly for like, I don't know, $1,000 with the last town supervisor, and it was a problem. So I like transparency. That's the whole reason I listen to these very lengthy meetings. And it just, I don't know, doesn't feel right. I would really agree with Mickey and with Barbara. Also, I wanted to take a second to thank Mary for authoring the bill or the ruling to fly the flag at half-mast for the 6 hostages that were executed, one being American and Israeli, and to the rest of the majority of the board who agreed with that. I think it spoke volumes. And I also agree that we should come together on October 7th and honor those that were brutally murdered, so many young people, innocent people, and babies that are being held. And the entire situation is awful. And I think it should be a unification where our town or whoever wants to attend comes together and, I don't know, says a prayer. There'll be more to follow, and I'm happy and proud to be a part of it. Finally, Dan, I know you're going to speak in the polling of the board, so you will get the last word. But if you come for me, I will again come for you. So be very careful. It's not a physical threat. It is a verbal threat. You have called me so many things, and your friend Jennifer Scarlett calls me Genocide Jane, all kinds of horrible names. You allow it. I have questioned you on your profile page at least 5 times. Dan, are you going to do anything about it? Dan, are you coming back? We are the residents. You have spoken as a council person harshly. So if you want to have a conversation with me, have it fairly. If you want to say something at the end of polling of the board where I can't comment back, then it just shows who you are. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Simone. And that's it, Tony.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. All right. Let's see here. Okay, next we have approval of claims. So I'd like to go ahead and motion to approve claims. So I have a second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're polling of the board. So I'll start with Mary.
shocked, but the Lewisboro Library Fair is happening on September 21st. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Ontario Farm Park. For those of our new neighbors, that's 99 Elmwood Road, South Salem, New York. It's the biggest fundraiser for our public library. All money that's earned for the library fair goes to the operating funds. It keeps the door of the library open. Not only that, it's a great day. It's so much fun. And there are, the donation days are obviously done, but there is a book sale that starts on Wednesday evening. Also the pre-sales, you can buy a fancy ticket as a special person for early access. Check the the Lewisboro Library.org website for more information on that. I also want to thank Highway Superintendent John Winter and his highway department for the incredible job that they've been doing this summer with the repaving, the trimming, the tree work. But guys, if the road says that it's closed, don't go into a road that's closed. Our employees, the highway department is so focused on what they're doing. If they think that the road is closed, they're not expecting a car to come up from behind them. It's a question of safety and respect. If the sign said road closed, use a different way of getting around, please. We want our people to be safe. And also, speaking of safe, one last thing, September is National Preparedness Month. The Lewisboro Emergency Management Committee is recognizing September as National Preparedness Month, ensuring that our community has the tools and resources necessary to stay safe and informed during emergencies and disasters. So it's spearheaded by FEMA. What you want to do is go back to the library website and sign up for the New York State Citizen Preparedness Corps that's happening on September 30th at 7 p.m. and sign up for the New York Alert communications. You'll be able to receive critical and emergency alerts that's happening in the area. So go to New York Alert and sign up for Lewisboro.
Looked up the pre-chilled dunk tank at 33 degrees, the public officials would be.
I'm in denial about the dunk tank. I did it the last few years. I'm doing it again, and so are a few other people at this table. So not that we want to be dunked, but we do. We're trying to make a difference for Lewisboro.
Thanks, Mary. Andrea?
So I'm gonna make a general statement. I think pulling the board is just a waste of time, honestly. I think a lot of what Mary has to say falls purely within the purview of announcements, especially since she's liaison to Parks and Rec, and that's where many of the announcements, public announcements come from. I don't need a grandstand to sit here and speak about my opinions or to wish everybody a happy holiday. It takes up a lot of time at the end of these meetings. More specifically, I think at the very least, Dan should be precluded from any public comment and any polling of the board in light of what he's done, crossing a very significant line on social media that is personal. And I think it's time that this board take a stand and at least impose some sort of repercussions for his unprofessional behavior. To that end, I don't intend on making another comment during polling of the board because I really think it's something that we should all be willing to forfeit for the benefit of a more efficient meeting.
Okay. Rich?
In light of 6 hostages, including 1 American, I was looking at the translation of the mourner's Kaddish, and the last couple sentences were appropriate. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and all Israel, to which we say amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say amen. I'll see you on October 7th. Thank you.
Dan?
Before I get into everyone's favorite subject, I'll just note that there's another sort of traffic challenge that came up, and I was kind of late to the email thread with the chief and John here. So both ends of Spring Street, the way they're designed with these 45-degree angle incoming, just kind of encourages people to just keep your highway speed going up through there. And I think it's another instance where we might want to take some action. And I like the chief's recommendation that we harden those corners into 90-degree corners. So people actually have to stop.
I saw your email on
So,
that, yeah.
Yeah, so, but just to say that I think we've got to go out and search for a good traffic engineer to help us with those things. So that's something we want to do as soon as possible. So on the Facebook posting that everybody's so
Let me know when
about-
there's executive session, please. I'll be outside.
I got the weekend before last, I got contacted by a board member who said that, told me that there was going to be, the board was proposing, or there was a proposal to make a statement about the murder of the hostages and to lower the flag. And would I like to sign on to that? And I told the board member, well, okay. We've been going for 10 months, there's 40,000 people dead of all sorts. To just pull out these 6 people and do this for them is like, for me, that's doesn't make any sense or any, it's very problematic. And I said, if this was a statement to speak to all the folks who have perished during these 10 months, 11 months, and include the Palestinians and the Israelis and speak to it all, rather than just pick out 6, I would say, okay, we could do that. And I offered an alternative statement, which captured that, and that was rejected. And yes, I did characterize that. Then I had to, I knew there was going to be a statement. The statement was made, and I needed to go on the record for why I decided to do what I did. And I do consider this, and let's just back up for a minute. I do consider this a racist act because, every act that this board has taken is, from the beginning, with the in October, and it was all directed at the Israeli victims, and there's been no effort whatsoever to speak to the other victims. Even mention the word Palestinian, and it goes on and on. Now, saying that's a racist act doesn't mean I think everybody on the board are outrageous racists in every aspect. We all harbor these things at one level or another. We all make mistakes and do things that could be taken that way. This is my opinion. I feel very strongly about it, that there was no effort whatsoever to be more accommodating. And so that I made that statement because the town, and what's also interesting is that it's continuously thrown at me that we're spending a lot of time on this because of me. And I never brought this up in a town board meeting. There's been actions taken by the board a number of times, and then I've made my comments privately about them, and that's that. So I'm sorry that this hits hard, but that's absolutely my opinion. If you ignore and pretend that the rest of those lives are meaningless, and then use the town's, speak as a town only to those people. We had a American killed just in Palestine, shot by the IDF just last week again. Who was out there, a young lady who's 23 years old, working to help resist and protest what's going on now in the West Bank, which is turning into like Gaza. They're just it's a complete, they're just going nuts over there. So, this is my opinion. You can have another opinion about it, but I put my opinion out there. And, people don't want to sit in the same lunchroom table with me because of that. Like, okay, so be it, but, so, that's, I just wanted to close the loop on that.
Okay. Thanks. I have a couple of things. So, first of all, I'd like to thank the Vista Fire Department. They held a 9/11 ceremony yesterday morning.
It was Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, 9 a.m. I'd like to thank Mary for joining me there, and as well as Andrea. Good event. And in terms of, remembering what happened 23 years ago. And we're going to be lowering the flag at half-staff again for 9/11. The other thing I have is we have the building department amnesty program. So I just want to reiterate that from September 1st through November 1st, permits that have since expired, these are building department permits within the town of Lewisboro. They can be renewed by the building department without the filing/records management fee and a 25% additional fee that's typically charged per our town code for any renewal of expired permits. So anyone out there with expired permits and you want to get your permit refiled again, or the application refiled, take advantage of this program. It will save you some money. And I also have, so it's tax season. School taxes, as you all probably know from the emails that have come out of our tax office. First half is due September 30th, the second half, January 31st. And I'd like to thank our receiver of taxes, Deirdre Casper, and her deputy, Anna Bouts, for the wonderful job that they've doing and the hard work that they put into to make sure that the that tax bills go out, and it is a one of the revenue streams into the town. So I'd like to thank them for the efforts that they put into to make sure that this works right and to inform the residents of these deadlines. And so thank you, Deirdre and Anna. And that's all I have for polling. The next item, we have announcements. The next town board meeting is Monday, September 23rd, 2024, 7:30 p.m. here at the townhouse. I'd like to now motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues and a potential committee appointment, board appointment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone here and everyone